All right, guys, things are looking pretty good today, at least for Bitcoin. Bitcoin back up to 37,570. Mainly, I'd say a Bitcoin pump today. Altcoins still kind of hanging out. You still got XRP at 60 cents. Solana pretty much where it was yesterday, $55, $56. Cardano, 38 cents, pretty much where we were yesterday. Dogecoin up a little bit, back up to 8 cents. VeChain still at 2 cents. And let's see where our old friend Theta is. Theta, 94 cents, so pretty much where we were yesterday. So Bitcoin still going up a little bit. What does this mean? Does this mean we're about to go back up to $38,000, $40,000? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we get maybe a little bit of a pullback. Maybe altcoins kind of, hang out where they are for the next couple of weeks. Maybe Bitcoin will do its thing. Maybe Bitcoin will have a run up to $40,000. Then the altcoins will follow later. Who really cares? It doesn't matter. We're only 6 months from the halving. All right, so what did I want to talk about first? I noticed that a lot of the big YouTubers, mainly Crypto Banter, is kind of on the it's time to sell your altcoins narrative. Sell your altcoins. Altcoins might be taking a dump pretty soon and then buy back in later. And whenever I hear about this, I just he always does this. A lot of the big YouTubers do it. I know he's more of a trading channel, but it's like the most reckless thing you can do is altcoins may dump 20% or may not go up as much as Bitcoin right now. So let's go on the exchanges, put all your coins back on the exchanges, pay the fee to sell your coins, right? And then you got to pay 40 to 50% taxes at the end of the year because you're no longer in a long-term hold. You're in a trade. Just on that possibility, it's not guaranteed that altcoins are going to take a little bit of a dump. Completely reckless. And as you guys know, the reason that Rand does this is because he's bought and paid for by the exchanges. Bybit is his main sponsor. He makes most of his money off Bybit. If he can get you to go on an exchange, essentially Rand is looking for any excuse to get his followers to go on an exchange so the exchanges can rack up fees. So a guy like Rand does not want you just holding your coins for years and years and years and then selling them in the bull market. That does not benefit him and his handlers. He makes money when you go on the exchange and you trade and you sell. Whether you lose, whether you win or not, he's making money. So let's see what he has to say.
There's more people actually using Bitcoin, but it's actually bad because what it shows you is that retail is starting to come into the market. And you know what it means when retail comes into the market? It means that potentially we're getting to some kind of cycle top. That's what I spoke about yesterday. And I said, look, I think that it's time to sell altcoins. I didn't say sell all your altcoins. As I said yesterday in the show, I said, let's sell the froth. Let's sell the ones that we bought that were above our risk curve because we were riding momentum. Let's not touch the ETF, but let's sell all the frothy positions that we had because I said to you, to me, it just seems like there's going to be a correction. And I think that, as I said to you yesterday, I think that corrections are absolutely, absolutely normal. Let me show you what I mean when I say corrections are absolutely normal. And I said to you, look, I don't know when this correction is going to come. It could come today, could come tomorrow, it could come in a week, it could come in a month.
So I don't understand what this narrative is. We're going into a bull market. We know we're going to be volatile. We know Bitcoin's going to have pumps and dumps. We know altcoins are going to have days and weeks where they drop 20, 30%. That's just par for the course. According to Rand, are we supposed to be selling our coins now whenever we think there's going to be a dump? It doesn't make too much sense, guys. Why would anybody want you to sell your coins when we're probably 6-7 months away from one of the biggest bull runs in crypto history? Why would you want to take the tax loss? Like I said, if you're a U.S. citizen, long-term hold on crypto, you could pay as little as 15% taxes. If you trade in and out of crypto, you can pay as much as 50% taxes. I know Rand's based out of South Africa and there's no finance laws out there, but most of his followers are in Europe where you have very, very high capital gains tax, very, very high short-term taxes. Australia has the same tax system, United States. So essentially, to me, this is just Rand getting his people wrecked. Yes, you could sell your Solana right now at $50. And maybe it'll go down to $42 and you can buy back in. But when you end up paying the exchange fees, and the 50% in taxes at the end of the year, you still ended up losing money versus if you just held, long-term hold going into that bull market. So like I said, be very careful of these charlatans. Like, he's the biggest one, but there's so many others just like them. Like I said, his main goal is to get you for any way possible to go on to Bybit or whichever exchange, so they make a fee and they can basically get you to use leverage or whatever, get you to lose all your money, and then Rand makes the money in the end. So I think this is extremely reckless. I mean, he has 6,000 people watching his channel right now, and he's telling people to sell their altcoins. And yes, the altcoins could dump tomorrow. I don't know. But what if they don't dump? What if you sell all your altcoins tomorrow? Okay, I'm selling my Solana $50. I think it's going to go down to $40. And what if tomorrow Solana's $70? So what, you're going to buy back in at $70? This is so reckless. Now, it's one thing if we're in a bear market and the halving's 2 years away. Yeah, then I get it. Take your profits on something that pumped, but not when we're 5 months away from the halving, guys. So that's why guys like Rand, I think, out of all the YouTubers, I think he's the most reckless. I think he's done the most damage. I kind of look at him as like the Satan, the Lucifer of crypto YouTubers, because he's gotten so many people wrecked with his Luna, UST, Celsius, every scam in the book he was promoting. But he's really good. He's a very good car salesman, a used car salesman. He's very smart. He's very cunning. He's got that look that people like, and I think people listen to this guy. And if you listen to this guy, it's not going to work out too good for you. So okay, so that's my crypto banter news. Richard Hart. Somebody was on my comments talking about Richard Hart, about how, Hex is done. You got to be an idiot to buy Hex. Guys, for one, yes, Hex could go to zero, because my main thing with Hex was, I said a million times, Hex is a lotto play. Hex is a coin that I think Richard Hart is going to pump like a mother effer in the bull market. Now, I said this a year ago. And then, of course, within the last couple months, the SEC is going after Richard Hart. Richard Hart is completely fallen off Twitter. He's basically like in hiding somewhere in Finland because he doesn't want to get served by the SEC. Now, these are not criminal charges against Richard Hart. These are civil charges from the SEC, but Richard Hart is not posting on Twitter. So we don't have Richard Hart pumping Hex. So yes, that probably does mean Hex might not pump as much as I thought it was. Well, let's talk about this article first. Where is Richard Hart? SEC faces challenges in serving lawsuit to Hex founder. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has thus far been unsuccessful in its attempts to serve Hex and Pulse Chain founder Richard Schuler, aka Richard Hart, with its lawsuit for selling unregistered securities. In a recent filing with the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of New York, the securities regulators said it requested in August that the Ministry of Justice of Finland serve the lawsuit to Hart, who lives in Helsinki. However, to date, the regulators said has not received confirmation of service. I believe what Richard Hart is doing right now, he's just staying in a bunch of different hotels in Finland. So like they're unable to serve him. And I think that's kind of smart. I think what Richard Hart's doing is kind of smart. Richard Hart is the ultimate troll. And right now he's trolling the SEC. But my thing is, yes, the SEC is going after Richard Hart just like they're going after everybody. According to the SEC, everybody has been selling unregistered securities. So like every altcoin you essentially own, the SEC could technically be going after. So that doesn't really worry me. And whatever the SEC does with Richard Hart isn't going to be cleared up till long after the bull run. I'm talking 6 years. Look how long it took the SEC to go after XRP. But yes, we're not going to have Richard Hart most likely pumping Hex during the bull market, but that doesn't mean Hex isn't going to pump. Hex is a coin, I always said, put a few $100 in, it's a lotto play, let's see what happens. I think Richard Hart's going to pump it. But even so, Hex is at like all-time lows. It's down like 99% from its high. I actually put another $100 into Hex last week. I think total in Hex, I'm at like $300-400 in. I mean, like, come on, guys. This is like a lotto play. It's a joke. I know it can go to zero. But a coin like Hex can pump 30, 40, 50x in a week as well. So to people who think like Hex are coming out right now and say, Hex is done, it's over, it'll never, it's officially a scam. You can't say that Hex did not perform in this bull market for about another year and a half. So when we're a year from now, going into 2025, the bull market's over, Bitcoin's $100,000, Cardano's $5, your Theta's $30, then we'll look at Hex. And if Hex is still where it is right now, I'll totally agree with you. It was a fail, and I lost my $300. But as of now, when we're 5 months away from the halvening, we're hardly even in a bull market, we're basically still clawing our way out of a bear market, you cannot say Hex has failed. And when I hear people say that, I just think to myself, you're just emotional dumb money, because there's people right now putting thousands of dollars into Hex. You can look up the exchanges. People are buying Hex, and I truly believe those people are going to make a ton of money. But it's risky. I wouldn't put more than 1% of my portfolio in Hex, maybe like 0.5% of my portfolio in Hex, which essentially that is what I did. But Hex is one of those coins that can do absolutely insane. So, okay, that's the Hex news. I also noticed that George from Cryptos R Us, I'm starting to see like a lot of these big YouTubers never talk about Cardano. And I feel like Cardano is like starting to be in their radar as coins they want to talk about. Of course, I'm not a big fan of these big YouTubers like George from Cryptos R Us, but he does have a lot of subscribers. And he did devote basically most of his show last night, which was a 40-minute live stream, to talking about Cardano. So let's see what he has to say.
Wondering, why is Cardano so stagnant? Why is it not moving? Are there things happening with Cardano? And yes, the answer is yes. I already answered that. Yes. Let's start out with AI Boost. There is a new AI chatbot, Lamo. I think that's what you call it. Goes live, right? Right now, you got ChatGPT, you got Bard, you got, what's the other one that exists? I don't know, but there's a lot of AI chatbots. This was what Charles was trying to pull Sam Altman into, because now you got this going on. You got AI live, or at least, yeah, it's in the beta form, but you got AI live on Cardano. What can the AI chatbot do? I don't quite know. I don't think you could just tell it to program a dApp on Cardano. I don't think it's that smart, but it could be that smart in the future. They're still building on it, so that's fantastic. And Charles is still trying to draw in, Sam Altman, because Sam Altman was fired and then got rehired. But during that time, that's what Charles was trying to do, try to bring him aboard and do a decentralized version of ChatGPT as a partner chain. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen now, but still, you never know. Maybe that's still in the works. Okay? And also, speaking of chains, Charles is trying to, this is older, right? But still, Charles is trying to get everyone to become a side chain of Cardano, including Algorand. He tweeted this out months ago.
Anyway, I'm not going to play the whole thing. I just think it's good to see some of these big YouTubers who have a lot of followers are starting to talk about Cardano. And this is kind of what happens with Cardano. Like I always tell the story, I'll never forget it. Everyone thought Cardano was dead. 2, 3, 4, 5 cents. Cardano was dead. People were selling their Cardano. And then all of a sudden, people just started talking about it. YouTubers started talking about it. BitBoy started talking about it. George started talking about it. And it just went up to $3. So we're in the very early stages of the next crypto bull run. Like I always say, we're not even at the halvening yet. This is like, we're pre-gaming right now. When you drink, you go into a friend's house and you drink before you go to the bar. This is where we are right now with crypto. It's kind of like, we're kind of like in a dead no man's zone. But clearly we have a lot of good stuff happening with crypto, and there's a lot of good stuff happening with Cardano. It's just one of those coins that it's not a scam. There's not a lot of venture capitals behind it, so it doesn't do what Solana does. A lot of big YouTubers aren't shilling it every day. But it's a coin you can put money into, buy in the bear market, check back in 2 years, sell it at a 20x. And that's and I look at Litecoin the same way, although I do think Cardano is going to have far better gains than Litecoin. Litecoin to me, like I always say, is a coin, maybe we'll get like a 7 to 10x. Easy money. But Cardano, I think, is an easy 15, 20x from where it was at at 23 cents. And we'll finish up talking about Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy stock price reaches 2-year highs. As you guys know on this channel, we've been talking about MicroStrategy. I've been begging you guys about MicroStrategy really ever for the last year. We were getting into MicroStrategy at like $180, $175, $200. MicroStrategy killing it right now. It's just over $500. So I fully expect probably as we get into the meat of the bull market, I'm thinking MicroStrategy is probably going to be about $1,000. By this time next year, maybe $1,000 MicroStrategy stock, and that's probably when I'll be selling it. But it could go even higher, guys. It could go even higher because MicroStrategy actually seems to pump just as hard as Coinbase, but it seems to pump even harder than Bitcoin. You know, if Bitcoin goes up 5%, MicroStrategy goes up 8%. So I'm really glad that I decided. See, I don't really hold a lot of Bitcoin. Like I hold some Bitcoin, but I don't hold much. I'll be honest with you guys. Most of my Bitcoin investment is in Bitcoin related stocks. And the biggest one is MicroStrategy. So MicroStrategy is essentially at this point outperformed every coin that I have. And I'm really happy with it. I found this article, which is kind of interesting. It's about the Bitcoin ETF. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Bitcoin ETF may spark TradFi sell-off. Bitcoin retail investors may end up with a hot potato if the spot ETF go-ahead plays out like gold 20 years ago, analysts consider. Bitcoin may suffer when the first spot exchange-traded ETF is approved by the United States, a new warning says. In a thread on X, formerly known as Twitter, I hate when they do that. I hate that Elon Musk changed Twitter to X, because now people just will say X, but they'll also say formerly known as Twitter. So like people are still calling the freaking thing Twitter. You should have just left it at Twitter. Anyway, in a thread on Twitter, November 20th, Joshua Lim, head of derivatives at capital market firm Genesis Trading, predicted a volatile start to 2024 for Bitcoin price action. Bitcoin is already a target for traditional finance, or TradFi, which is betting on winning big out on the spot ETF approval. We know TradFi guys, macro tourists, are already long crypto ahead of the ETF news. They built the position over the last few months and are now paying handsomely to roll it. The thread explains a long data covering open interest on CME Group Bitcoin. The signs are there in the performance of the first Bitcoin futures ETF, as well as stocks of crypto firms such as U.S. exchange Coinbase, the latter up 250% to date. While generating buzz and emboldening the institutional adoption narrative behind Bitcoin, the party could nonetheless quickly fizzle once the spot ETF is actually given a green light. I mean, I actually do agree with that. I mean, I do think when this whole Bitcoin ETF gets approved, you're going to see a giant pump. You know, maybe Bitcoin will it could go to $45,000, maybe even $50,000. But I do think after that, we're going to have a massive dump after, as kind of the news fizzles out and people kind of sell it. And then we'll probably go back down to $40,000, maybe back down to $38,000. And then we'll hang out there for a little bit. And then we'll slowly make our way back up. You know, that's just how crypto is. That's how investing is. People always sell the news. But I do think once we get that Bitcoin approval, there is going to be a massive pump in Bitcoin. It's not like it's not like the ETF's going to get approval and then we're just going to dump. No, we're going to get like a 20 to 50% pump in Bitcoin, and your altcoins are going to go crazy as well. But then we could have a 30 or 40% dump a few weeks after, and then we could just kind of go stagnant leading up to the halving. Because if the Bitcoin ETF gets approved in January, which is essentially what everybody thinks, we're still going to have 4 months until that halving. So big pump in January. Everybody's bullish. Oh my God, Bitcoin ETF. Bitcoin's going to $1 million. Then February, giant dump. Uh-oh, it's over. ETF news is over. Oh my God, we're going to zero. Nobody cares about the ETF anymore. And then March, April, going into that halving is when we really go bullish. So in a nutshell, it's going to be volatile. So hold on to your butts. Don't listen to guys like Crypto Banter who are looking for any excuse to get you guys onto the exchanges, to get you guys on the Bybit, to sell your coins. Like I said, that's how he makes all of his money. He's paid by the exchanges to shill and to get you onto those exchanges. Just when you're going into a bull market, you don't sell your altcoins until you're up like 10x. When you get a 10, 20x on your altcoins, start taking profits, but you really shouldn't be selling your altcoin if you're just up like 50, 60, 70%. It just doesn't make any sense. We're in these markets to make life-changing gains, life-changing wealth. You know, I can just think going back to 2021. I actually will never forget this. I remember when my Theta, I'll use Theta for example. I remember I was buying Theta at 20 cents, 30 cents, even 12 cents during COVID. I went to the beach. I'm just relaxing. I check my phone. Theta's up to $2, $3. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to start selling this thing. It can't go up any higher. I ended up selling a bunch of my Theta. And then it went up to $5. I actually had to buy back in at $5. Then we went back up to $9. I finally sold everything. And then, of course, Theta went up to $15. So if I had sold everything at $3, it would have been very, very nice gains. But I just would have done so much better if I had just thought to myself, okay, we're still early in the crypto cycles. We probably have another year of bullishness. Why am I going to sell my Theta 1 month into the bull market? That doesn't make any sense. So you have to use some common sense, guys. It's all about timing. And right now, we're still in the accumulation zone. You can still get your Cardano, your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, all for a relatively cheap price. Even your XRP at 60 cents. Okay, I mean, I do think XRP will probably be between $3 and $5 going into the bull market. We're still in that zone right now where you should be looking to buy cheap prices. You know, Cardano goes back down to 35 cents. Yeah, pick some up. Dogecoin back to 6 cents. Pick some up. Theta goes back under 90 cents. Pick some up. We're still in that accumulation range, but after that halvening, accumulation is going to be over, and that's when we should be going extremely bullish. Once your coin gets like a 10x, a 5x, yeah, start taking profits. But what Crypto Banter is saying right now is just lunacy. Like, oh, just start selling your altcoins because we might dump 20 or 30%. That's reckless. You're going to pay the 50% taxes. You're going to pay the exchange fees. And the only person who makes out on this deal is Crypto Banter because he gets kicked back from the exchanges and the exchanges. You're not going to make out. Even if you call it right and Solana dumps 20%, by the time you get back in, like I said, pay the fees. Now you're paying 50%, 40% taxes in Europe or the United States. What did you do that for? Why did you do that? Also, Crypto Banter can buy another yacht. That's pretty much why. All right, guys, like and subscribe. Talk to you later.